Let's jump into audience questions for the week. First one's from Cynthia. Cynthia says, hey, David, Trump recently mentioned that maybe we should bring back earmarks. You mentioned that this makes quid pro quo even easier, but can you talk a little bit about the pros and cons of earmarking? I mean, listen, the pros, I'm not going to say there aren't pros to earmarking. It is a way to be able to fund specific projects, and sometimes that's important for politics, right? So we can imagine situations where a general appropriation of money for infrastructure in a particular county, it might go to particular projects that we've identified as important, or it might not. So earmarking money for specific projects, there's no doubt that if you want a particular project to take place, an earmark is a good way to do it. The problem is that in practice, earmarking started being used in completely unrelated bills. So you would have a bill about infrastructure, and there would be provisions about some kickback to a financial services firm who had donated a bunch of money to some elected official. It opens the door to absolutely even more rampant quid pro quo, cronyism, and corruption. So the question would be, would there be a way to expose ourselves to the positives of earmarking to the extent that they hypothetically exist without allowing for all of the corruption that earmarks bring in? And I don't know that there really is a way to do that. How would you set something up like that?
No, I think the better way is to just have stricter campaign finance reform, because then you don't have to make some backroom deal with a politician to get what you want passed, right? Because
I see
they'll
what
be
you're saying.
working in the interest of the American public rather than, specific donors.
Yeah, so let's explore that. If we are to assume that an earmark would be the repayment of a campaign donation that maybe came earlier from a company, then it's true that if we restructured campaign finance and eliminated even the circumstances that would lead to those quid pro quos, we might be able to get away with doing earmarking in a way that did not allow the corruption and cronyism to run rampant. But basically what we're getting back to is, and I've been saying this for a while, no matter what issue is important to you, you kind of have to deal with campaign finance in order to get at the heart of what is impeding us from really making progress on that issue. And that's kind of what we're saying. Like, yeah, we can pick out some positives of earmarking in an ideal world, but that ideal world is one where campaign finance is completely different than it is.
And I just think that we have to have clean bills on this sort of thing. I understand
as
that
a general thing,
if you're a congressman or you're a senator and you are in Montana, you may not have a reason to vote for the bridge in South Carolina.
Sure.
But if you have like a groundswell of support for an infrastructure bill, I think that's the thing that you have to move forward on instead, not just your specific project or another.
And I don't think it's crazy to say that there are specific projects we want funded. The problem is that usually those decisions are not made by calculating what would give us the biggest social benefit. It's calculated by what companies do we want to give a contract to because they've supported us, and that's sort of inherently the problem.
Yeah, it's funny how Trump floated the idea of bringing back earmarks, and right away the House decided to, I don't know if they had a vote on it, but at least consider it. Because if they can get back into that crony capitalism and politics that they've been doing, 5-10 years ago, and they have an easy way to do it and the president's behind it, they're going to do it.
Oh my goodness, of course. The first thing they would do is try to take advantage of that.